Let's get down to business. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about grilling.
Grilling, barbecues.
Absolutely. It is summer. We're talking about the do's and don'ts of straightforward, simple grilling.
Yeah, America.
I was going to say, let's throw a shrimp on the barbie.
Let's do this thing.
Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge John, Darren, and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our edible valley. And a very good day to you. This is the Edible Valley podcast. My name is William. I am the producer.
And I am Chef Jonathan Fraser.
And I am amateur griller.
Amateur griller, Darren Howlett. Sorry, I just talked over your name.
That's all right. I'm Darren Howlett, and I am...
You got to own this, and you're a professional griller.
I guess.
You've pulled
let's call it semi-professional.
Semi-professional.
Okay.
You know the tips and tricks. You know what's happening out there. You know how to not catch yourself on fire.
Yeah.
So we have a great show, actually. In terms of our planning, I don't think we've ever been more planned for a show. Darren has just handed me the show plan, and it's amazing.
Actually, and those are built on John's notes. Those aren't... Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It's sometimes preparation. And I think that's really gets us into the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Preparation turns out a better product. So,
Absolutely.
That's it. And I'm excited to talk about this, but I also want to just a quick little thing. We've got a whole bunch of really exciting interviews coming up because, things are starting to calm down a bit and we're starting to talk to people. And so, not to let everything else, but we got a couple really great farmers.
Well, why don't we talk? But really quickly, we've got Logan the scientist. And sorry, Logan, I can't remember your last name at the moment.
So we're going to be learning about seaweed?
Yeah, we're going to be learning about seaweed and food applications for seaweed. And we have Mr. Patterson from Patterson Farms
Jerry's
coming
going to
up.
come in.
Someone we've wanted to talk to for years.
Oh my God, this is like... I love picking his brain. I could listen to him for hours. So we're going to see what we can learn about organic farming.
Yeah, great
Nice.
guest coming up. Looking forward to
wait.
that. Yeah.
And then actually I have met someone called Atticus Bird, which is an awesome
That is probably
name.
one of the best names I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, so I've joined CrossFit. I'm now one of those people.
Oh, you're that
guy. Indeed, and she's doing a nutritionist course, or she's been, and she knows everything about this, but she's really, really into local, seasonal, and organic food. She's so passionate about it. So we're going to have her on the show at some point soon as well.
That's awesome.
That sounds like we're doing some good podcasting.
Yeah, we're going to morph into a fitness show, which is what I've always wanted.
All right. Speaking of that, I know that you said you have some sort of challenge you're going to hit me with near the end, and I'm a little nervous, but bring it on. We'll see where the
Should we just hit you with the challenge now?
Sure, yeah.
All right, let's do this thing.
Okay.
All right, so I wasn't going to do it because I wasn't sure, because I know this is a really busy time of year for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to set down a challenge for you because I think the challenge will help you.
Sure.
You are really, really busy with things in your life at the moment. You've got the business, you've got so much going on. So you can delay that. You don't have to say, well, I'm going to start straight away. But I'd like you to do something to start it, as in maybe book something in. But I'm going to challenge you to join a CrossFit class.
Really?
Yes, I think you will absolutely love this. Now, whatever fitness class anyone does, I think it's definitely going to help you. But there are so many CrossFit classes around. It's 100% class-based gyms. And you go along and there's a different workout every day. And if you go 4 or 5 days a week, you are healthy, you're strong, and you get your workout out the way by 8 in the morning. I book into a 7 o'clock one. There's a 5:50 one, I believe, as well.
Wow.
And it's job done, and then you just get on with the rest of your day.
I absolutely love this.
All right. Well, I'll consider it, and if anything, knowing that we have a guest coming on that's in that field.
Yeah.
I will aim to either get it started by then or do it in conjunction with then.
So, will you in advance book it? So you don't have to go for a few weeks.
Sure.
But so next show, I'm going to check in with you.
Okay.
All right, because honestly, this is a compliment coming up as well. Compliment warning. You will be really good at this. You will be really good at this.
Oh, well, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about grilling, barbecues.
Oh, this is what
It's exciting.
We're in the middle of summer. COVID restrictions have eased up, so people are back to socializing again. And what's more social in summer than backyard barbecues?
Yeah, I mean, and it's manly.
Yeah.
Let's just I'm going to put that on its own.
I don't need the help with being manly, so I don't actually categorize it that way, but okay.
So
I have barbecuing aprons.
He's got the merch.
I'm like, I got the merch. I got the tongs, the long tongs, the big spatula. I'm ready to roll. Nice. And you're looking for a barbecue right now. So.
I am. I'm in the market. I know where I can acquire one at no cost to myself.
Fantastic.
I'm going to tell you nothing else. In the week.
But your neighbor just lost theirs, right?
Yeah. Someone will end up with no barbecue. That is true. Now, here's what you're going to learn today. So I mentioned earlier the planning is great today. So this is going to be in a really great order. We're going to start with where you're going to source your food. Mm-hmm. We're going to move on to the types of barbecue. And we're going to end with barbecue aftercare or grill aftercare, how to maintain your barbecue. So we're going to take it from the very beginnings right to the very end. So stay tuned because you are going to be an expert once we are through today. It's simple as that.
It's all about the do's and don'ts, right?
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's going to be quite do's and don'ts based. And so I'm going to go straight into the experts in front of me.
Sure.
I'm here to learn, and the first is a don't. Don't skimp on quality.
Absolutely. I think if you can sum it up, I would say if you only have let's for the duration of the show, let's just say we're talking about a steak. All this applies to other meats, but just for a point of reference, let's say it's a steak. So if you're going to grill a steak, you only have the steak and the seasonings. So any money you spend on that steak is going to come through, or anything that you try to cut, any savings you try to make, that's also going to come through. It's only going to be as good as the steak that you started with. So if you're going to cut corners, that's not where to do it.
It's all about what my favorite saying is: fat is flavor.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're buying quality meats, you're doing a better marbling in your meats. You know, it's a better quality. It's going to have a nicer flavor. It's been prepared or roasted properly. So it's like that starting, it's like you can't start with garbage and make something beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess some people do, but that's an art.
Any examples of that?
No, I'm all
danger zone.
Okay. But I'm saying is like, starting with something, it's easy to progress if you have something good to begin with. So
exactly.
Going out and getting quality. So I'm talking about AAA, reserve. Definitely when we're talking steaks, that's the way to go. It's a good start, and you're going to have a lot more success than if you try and use a lower quality meat,
right?
Like a utility of something, and try and make it taste good.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's say if you are not living in the Comox Valley, what sort of place are you going to go to? Maybe a more national, international chain of places like Whole Foods, maybe places like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can find good cuts of meat in cheapo places. Like, it's not about. We're not trying to saying that you have to spend everything that you've got. It's just go for that better cut of meat. I mean, you're going to find you're going to find a sirloin or a New York at most places. And then from there, you can determine, as you get better at it, you can determine if it's better to pay the extra for the places that charge a premium. Mm-hmm. Some places will sell you a steak that's been cut within the last 2 weeks, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with eating that. That's great. But, if you can start to appreciate the flavor and the dry aging for like a 4-week-old steak, and you can afford that, then go for it. Like, that's where you're going to start stepping up.
Nice. Great. Let's talk about fuel.
Yeah.
So we have a do use charcoal or propane, and also hardwood. charcoal if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people will use other. I mean, what?
Well, this is a heated question.
For sure. I think actually
this charcoal.
Yeah, I think this goes more to John, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't even want to touch on the issue because I don't want to get people. There is advantages of both, right?
Yeah.
Propane is quick and easy.
It's clean.
It's
too.
clean.
It doesn't leave a lot of propane flavor on the meat, which in every other cooking process, the fuel is going to leave flavor on the meat.
Yeah, which is what you're looking for, and that's why charcoal is. People love that charcoaly flavor. It adds a depth to it. It definitely creates its own flavors within it, as well as its own cooking temperatures, because it gets nice and hot, and you can get that thing. Whereas with propane, is you have that ability to adjust.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a heated question, and I prefer both methods. I think I like to do things both methods. I mean, the old charcoal, doing a burger on the charcoal grill is beautiful, or even a steak on there. Like, love it. But for ease, propane's that great. You can control the heat a bit better. You can have the difference between, maybe I'm jumping a step, but like direct heat and indirect heat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do that with both, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with all the points that you said there. The only thing, and I think this is coming up too. It's the next point, actually. Don't use starter fluids or lighter fluids. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm going to tell you really quickly.
Oh, this is
actually a test, and people can say I'm petty. This is a test to see if my brother or my dad listen to this podcast, because I'm about to talk about both of them right now.
Throwing them under the bus.
My brother was away prawn fishing, and we were using his house while he was away. My dad, this is the first time I think I'd had a barbecue with my dad where my brother wasn't in charge since I was a kid. And my dad came over to my brother's beautiful charcoal grill that my brother just babies, and he's like, "Where's the lighter fluid? Let's get these steaks going." And I was like, if you use lighter fluid on this, my brother, Tori is going to kill you. And he's like, "What the hell? How else do you start a barbecue? Like, what else?" And I was like, "By this, we were using the chimney method. We have a little chimney. So it takes about 15, 20 minutes to get going, and about another 5 or 10 to get the coals right up to where you want them after that." And he's like, "We got to wait 20 minutes before you even put them on the grill?" And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, like slow, good food it takes time. Like, you can't rush good food." And he's like, "What the hell?" He literally had a fit and was throwing his arms around as if I was undercutting his method of barbecuing for 50 years now. But I was like, and he just didn't understand. I was like, "Everything's going to taste like lighter fluid." And he's like, "But it'll be cooked." And I'm like, "Yeah, but if you take the time, we have, a great flavor developing here that you're going to ruin by just being impatient. Like, let's just take the time and do it right." Anyways, yes, that's the lighter fluid or starter fluid, or that little starter brick thing that they used to do.
Right.
Just don't use those. Just don't.
Go the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Take the time. Do it the right way.
You're just lighting the charcoal.
Yes.
This is a layman speaking.
Yeah.
You're lighting the charcoal, waiting, and then it
Right.
goes up, and then you wait for it to go out, and then you chuck everything on.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah, and the beauty about charcoal too that we didn't mention between propane and charcoal. Propane, your barbecue is only going to let it get to so hot, right? It's got safeguards in place. Whereas charcoal, you can actually, I mean, if you're doing it right, if you're stacking it right and getting your embers right, you can get up to like 800 degrees in some spots.
You're in pizza territory.
Yeah, and then then you start getting into pizza territory.
Can you do a pizza on the barbecue?
Oh,
Or
yes, of course.
If you get it hot enough, yeah.
Get it hot enough with a nice stone in there or something,
Yeah.
and throw it straight on there.
That's
yeah.
a show on its own. Now, we do have another I'm going to sneak in here to have extra on hand.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing worse than when you're just getting your charcoals up to temperature and you have no more to add on, or you've got your propane barbecue right where you want it, and all of a sudden the tank's empty. Like, there is nothing worse than that.
It's the fail. You have a couple too many beverages beforehand, and you get chatting, and then you forget to throw that burger on right away because it takes a little bit longer because you're socializing, right? Like, that's part of the grilling thing is having friends and family around, right? Like, you can talk to people, and And yet you've still got something going on, you know, like you have importance because you're in charge of the grill.
Right.
This is the manly bit coming out, right?
Your
Like,
apron.
you got something to talk about, and you're like, oh yeah, there's some good grill marks on there. I like the caramelization. These are terms you need to know.
Right.
Being that
I'm going to drop my yard reaction on you in a bit.
the pit boss. I'm completely but that I did it the other day myself, actually.
Oh, did you?
Well, I was cooking outside.
Yeah.
I had the barbecue, and I've got this nice new propane stove.
Oh, yeah, right.
The 3 burners that we use for our cooking class, and I'm like, I'm in love with this thing. Anyways, so I had this plan of doing some stuff on there, and then of course I forgot that the one tank was empty.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it became everything on the barbecue, which was great because I made too much food anyway. So
Right.
it's not like
and the one thing to note too is that by just taking that little extra time to make sure you have, you know, enough on hand, that 2 minutes that it would take to replenish it, or 5 minutes to the store to run down and get that new, it's pushing you back by an hour probably.
Yeah.
Because you're going to lose all that heat. You got to start that back up. You know, you're setting dinner back by an hour by having to run down to do a 2-minute errand, pick up more.
Just be ready.
So be ready.
Just be ready. Okay, all right. So I'm going to segue into the next one here.
Sure.
So get my steaks out the fridge, slab them on the barbecue. No.
I love
Actually,
when
John and I were
learns.
just talking about this just before you arrived. One of the things I was saying, I'm going to give you the exception to the rule before we impress upon you the rule. So the exception to the rule to me is if you have a really thin cut steak or chop or piece of steak or chop, really, that's about it. Really thin cut. I'm not talking about your average cut. Thin, like less than or maybe half an inch. It's okay to pull it straight from the fridge, put it straight on the grill. It's not perfect. It's not, because that's not a perfect meat to grill. But what you're doing is you're allowing that by the time you get your grill marks on the edge, you're not going to have overcooked the middle. Any other time, if you pull it straight from the fridge and put it on there, you're doing a huge disservice to developing flavor, and your timing on cooking is all out of whack. Like, you're not going to get any sort of consistent.
You're making it easier for yourself.
Yeah. So by pulling it out and getting it to room temperature, you're allowing all the flavor to develop otherwise you're just going to lose flavor as far as I'm concerned. And I think that you don't get an accurate representation of when you're testing for doneness, when you're looking for your medium rare, whatever. I feel like it sort of throws that up. It tightens the meat, you know?
Nice.
Yeah,
So-
things like to be rested. And that's like the beginning and the end.
Yeah, and we'll get to resting at the end too,
yeah.
for sure.
And checking temperature.
Yeah. But yeah, you absolutely doesn't matter. And I've had people say to me, because that's one of the ones that I'm very impressed. Like, I push on people all the time. They'll say, I thought that's not food safe, and it's absolutely food safe to get your meats to room temperature. It is absolutely okay.
Well,
you don't get there
By food safe, 2 hours, right?
Yeah. You don't want to leave them there for hours.
No. But like, if you pull out a
get
steak and let it rest for an hour, it's going to come up to room temperature.
Yeah.
And not that I'm saying you need an hour. I'm just saying, like, and as long as you're bringing it up, letting it sit out for half an hour, even 10, 20 minutes is all you need in most conditions to bring the temperature, just to even out the temperature.
Yeah.
So when it hits the grill, it's not as much of a shock. And which leads me to my next step, is that whole thing is like over flipping.
Oh yeah.
Don't be the guy who flips it, then flips it, and then flips it.
Yeah,
I agree.
You see, because as someone who likes to feel manly, that makes me feel manly. It started off where someone realized that poking a fire with a stick makes you feel a little bit manly.
Yeah, totally.
It's an extension of that.
It's the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah.
You got to fight it. The thing is to do churning,
Yeah.
right? So you put your steak down there, burger down there, chicken breast down there, and then you let it cook, and you want to flip it, just churn it that quarter turn.
Yeah.
It gives you those nice etch marks on there.
Yeah, right. That's where you
And
get
that's
that
how you make
cross hatching.
Yeah,
Make
yeah,
that
nice.
professional looking.
Yeah.
Everyone's a winner. You're prodding it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you do want to move it that little quarter turn, because you're allowing it so that it's not literally like attaching itself to the grill.
Yeah.
But the flipping, if you repeatedly flip it, you're not letting the center get cooked the way it needs to, and B, you're I don't know where I was going with that. You're not like you're just toughening it up, right? You're just getting the edge to be tough, and by just constantly flipping it, so you're getting a more raw middle and a tougher outer.
And another technique, if you're that person that takes your spatula and then presses down on that burger, when you do that, I need you to pull that spatula up and smack yourself in the face 3 times.
I will not be at your barbecue, and you will not be at mine if you're the person that pushes your meat.
You're pushing out all the moisture out of your meat.
And that is all the flavor.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're just looking at like whatever, just flavorless, dull flesh.
You're picking
the flavor is right there.
Yeah, you're speeding up the cooking time by pressing it, and I understand that.
What? Yeah. Okay. So people do it.
Yeah.
For speeding it. Do you see that in Five Guys or places like that where they're really going it in on the grill?
I see it in restaurants all the time. I see it everywhere. I know restaurants that do griddle work. They actually have weights
the brick
to put on top of their burgers to speed up the cook time.
Yeah.
Really? And that is baking in a bad practice.
It's just a bad practice because you're squeezing out the liquids that are in there. So part of making your burger patty or making your meat is keeping that juice in there because that's your flavor and that's your tenderness. All that great stuff is there. So by squishing it, you're just pushing
out all the things that you've gone to an effort to make sure are there, and then you just push them out onto the grill.
Yes.
Not only that, I mean, I think that brings up another point. When you do that, you're generally encouraging a flare up, and you want to avoid flare ups. You don't want.
They look good though.
Yeah, but they ruin flavor.
Yeah, they add a bitterness to it. So it's like keeping that lid down, but you don't want to have that. And I've done it before where you put the lid down and all of a sudden you see flames coming out all sides of the thing. That's not what you want to do. So you want to be able to move your meat around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And actually,
I was going to say we skipped that point. Let's talk about that. So so know your grill. You want to know your grill, and that means not necessarily that day or in general, but that day, find your hot points and your cold points. Whether on propane, you can generally adjust those.
Right.
But on a charcoal grill, you're going to be looking for those. You're going to say, where are my hot, where are my cold points? So then once then we get to what John was just talking about. As soon as you've got those flare-ups, you want to move things over to your colder side for a bit.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is realizing what you're cooking. So that's part of the picking the right meat for what you're doing. Yeah. But realizing that part of the great thing of barbecuing is getting that real intense high heat, and that's part of you've got the grill, you've got the lid, so you're containing it all. So you want to get that real crispiness and get the caramelization on the top of your meat, but then you've got to cook it through or to the doneness you want, and that's not, if you keep it on that high heat, it's going to burn, right?
Yeah.
So having that vortex, I guess is the word I'm looking for, of having a hot spot and a low spot. If you move your meat over onto that low spot and just let the heat circulate over it, and you get some beautiful flavors.
So or for other people listening that might know these terms, so taking it off the direct heat, which is the flame licking right under it, and putting it to the indirect heat. So it's like convection, right? You've got this lid on, creating convection, so you have no heat actually going to the meat, but you have it just in an environment that's heated. So it's just going to keep bringing that middle up to the rest of the outside.
It's almost like there's 2 types of heat going on, and you want to make sure you've got the option to know when you do.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah. So that's when you get good at grilling, is knowing when you want to use the direct versus indirect.
Yeah. And so it's like you're using a thin piece of meat, you get that direct heat.
Yeah.
Put it off, and then let it finish off to the side. Whereas if you've got a big chunk of meat, a roast or something like that, you can throw it on that, get it seared up on the outside, then move it to the side just to let that convection work for it. And you get this beautiful tender. And I think that leads right to the next thing is, now that it's all cooked, pulling it off, and don't cut it.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So when you're testing to see your doneness, whether you like, medium, whether you like rare, whether you like medium well, whatever, when you're testing to see your doneness, don't cut into the meat. Use a thermometer. Use the thermometer, because as soon as you cut the meat, you're breaking that seal that you've just gone to all that work to create, which is keeping all your juices in. And so by breaking that seal, you're again, it's just like pressing and undoing everything that you've just done. But the same goes for as soon as you pull it off the grill, it's same concept. Don't cut into it. You need to let it rest. So when you cook meat on a grill, actually when you cook meat by baking it, and any which way you cook meat, the juice is inside, which a lot of people misconstrue or mislabel as blood. It's not blood, it's the juices, it's the flavor. But they are superheated and they naturally go to the edges. They want to find a way to escape. Oh, yeah.
Okay, force into the middle.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Sorry. It's the Maillard reaction that's going on the inside. So they by cutting into them, you're going to put it early by not allowing all those the muscle that you've just cooked, by not allowing it to relax because it's all tightened. All of that is just going to spill out onto your board. And that is literally what you've just spent all that money and time is to make those juices give that flavor, and all your flavor is just going to be on the counter. So what you want to do is let it rest.
And you know what? You're going to lose some juice when you do it anyways.
Yeah.
But my always thing is having a cutting board with a little edge around it, and then you can save that for a little a jus or a demi or extra flavor.
Beautiful. Yeah.
We're talking about a steak here and you're looking at that quick preparation, even just spooning that little bit and drizzling it back over the meat when you serve it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all flavor.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Right. So I've had my barbecue a few days ago.
Yeah.
I kind of put the lid on, forget about it.
Oh no.
I'm going to have a barbecue again. Take the barbecue off, get it ready, light it, chuck the food back on straight away.
What?
No cleaning. No. Bad, Will. Bad. No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots of reasons. It's not really food safe. It's not really healthy to just have bits of meal from weeks ago now in your new meal. But you're also giving it little points of like texture. You're going to be off, and I mean bacteria. Sure, people will be like, oh, it just burns off. And yeah, I guess so. But like, why do you want to create a bacteria-rich environment?
You're also the longevity of your barbecue, because definitely they rot, right? And so if you leave that moisture in there, I always and I'm coming from using a propane one, which I use most of the time, is I crank it up full at the end of the meal and just burn everything off, get it really hot. And then give it a good scrub and wipe down with a little bit of I use just like a cooking oil or whatever, just a quick wipe of the grill, and then you're good to go.
That's a good tip.
It's ready for the next time, right?
So just burn it off, scrape. Can you use one of those scrape wire brushes things?
Yeah, wire brush is great.
Yeah, the abrasive ones are really good for getting off any chunks or whatever. But
I've been using one of those wood scrapers, which are they look like Bart Simpson after a little while. I think we actually use one at work because we got away from the wire brush.
Yeah.
Just because once in a while you lose a wire.
Yeah.
And
one of the
when
little
that ends
grills.
up, that's nothing you want to have in someone's food. So
No.
The having the wood one
which is literally just a slab of wood that you've made sure to have a handle. So even if something splinters off or whatever, it's just going to cook off. It's just going to burn away. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So we're getting through a lot here.
Yeah.
So
I think we sort of skipped a bit out of order.
No, totally okay. But I'm gonna go on to a do. Okay. This is do season before grilling.
Yeah. We didn't talk about seasoning. John, your philosophy? There's a couple of camps.
We season? Oh. What does seasoning do? It just brings flavor, right?
Yeah.
So, I love seasoning. I love marinating. I love brining.
Yeah.
All of those are great techniques.
Yeah.
Brining a piece of, brining a piece of meat for a length of time beforehand just infuses those flavors into the meat.
10 seconds. What is brining? What does it do?
Basically, you're soaking. I want to get the good technical term for this, but that's just basically you're putting it in a liquid, a briny liquid, to infuse the flavors into it.
So it can't just leak out.
So
it just
brining,
can't look nice.
Brining is kind of like marinade, but marinade implies more of a sauce. Whereas brine, you're not going to use the brine. The brine is just there to
seal it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Okay.
a lot of meats that processed meats that you buy through are brined, and they'll actually inject like a salt solution into the meat, and that's how they season it.
Which is brining.
But it's more aggressive. So for me, I'm like, I'll take a pork loin, and one of my favorite one is just kosher salt, some citrus, some herbs of some sort. Throw it in a brine. I'll boil that with some sugar in there just to sweeten it up a bit. Throw it in there for 2 or 3 days. Pull it out, dry it off completely, and then go to the grill with it.
Yeah, and the result is it's almost impossible unless you're one of those people that press on your meats. It's almost impossible to have anything but juicy product at the end.
Yeah, it adds a lot of moisture into the meat as well.
Yeah.
Whereas a marinade, I mean, I'm going to my rotisserie chicken because that is literally.
Oh yeah.
I love rotisserie chicken. I'm like, it's my favorite thing in the world.
Okay.
But I literally take my my chicken, a whole chicken, and I will soak it in a barbecue sauce.
Really?
For 3 days.
Yeah.
I like, a can of beer, my favorite barbecue sauce in there, or like one of the ones I've made, and then I'll just soak it, and then clean it off, dry it off on the rotisserie. Nice, real slow heat for a really long time. And then I've got that excess marinade I'm just brushing on there as I go along. It's just adding that extra flavor to it.
If we go back to the steak, though, which from my whatever, when I'm looking at marinades, I sort of, for me, I go steak, high cut, high quality. It's good rate as it came. Going a bit lower, I'm going to probably brine it. A bit lower quality, I'm definitely going to marinate it. Only because I can break down some of that tough tissue with the marinade, and I can impart some flavor because that's not going to have a lot of flavor.
Okay.
So those are that's generally how I do things. If I'm stuck with a cheap steak marinade,
Okay, right. Got another don't. Right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have a barbecue tonight.
Okay.
All right. So I got the meat ready. Got it room temperature.
Yeah.
About 30 minutes to an hour. Okay. Turn the grill on. Slab it on there straight away.
Nope. No. Preheat. You absolutely need preheat. If you did that, you would end up with a gray, miserable product at the end. If you just threw it onto a cold grill and brought it to heat up.
And it'll probably stick.
Yeah, it will definitely stick. You'll lose lots of the muscle fiber onto the grill. Well, no, you want heat. You want it hot. If anything, you want it too hot, and then you want to drop it down once you put your meat on, because then you have absolute control, and you're getting everything at its prime.
Well, you're getting that sear.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like removing it from like that high heat sear to get that real caramelization to like letting it cook through the moisture in the middle.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I said I would talk about Maillard reaction really quickly. This is where it comes into play. Maillard reaction is essentially what John's talking about with caramelization. Maillard reaction is just as caramelization pertains to meat. It's that sweet browning, that crust sort of where a lot of flavor develops from the natural sugars and the natural proteins, and it's just sort of that sweetening. But that is the key thing. For instance, if you have a scallop, you can enjoy a scallop that's, say, baked or poached or whatever, but we often find them nowadays on seared scallop, because we know that crust that's formed with that Maillard reaction, that browning, that sweet edge, gives it texture, flavor. It adds so much to that scallop, right? So that's the Maillard reaction. Every time you see that browning, crispy, whatever, that cross hatching, that groove, that's that Maillard reaction. Beautiful. And it is beautiful. It is very tasty.
Interestingly, so I do a fast twice a week.
Okay.
I do it. I stop eating at 8 o'clock the night before, and I'll start again around 2 today. And the idea is just to give your body some time to rest.
Sure.
And when I do my workout session in the morning, my body is taking from fat reserves as an energy source. It's something you can do or not. Point being is I'm always starving when we are talking. The scallops. I was like,
I know. It's so weird that you're fasting on Wednesdays, and which is the day that we record. And let's sit down and talk about food while you're fasting.
Yeah, let's torture Will a little bit.
Okay, so I've got another don't.
Yeah.
All right, so right, everything's ready. The meat is at room temperature, 30 minutes to an hour. It's there. The grill, it's been on for 30 minutes. It's ready to go. All the stuff I need's in the fridge. But you know what? I can get that at the time. So I'm just going to chuck everything on and we'll keep on running back to the fridge.
No. Only it goes back to what we were saying about don't get distracted. Don't wander off into conversation. Don't.
What's that word I'm looking for?
Mise en place.
Which
A lot of people actually haven't heard, but we take it for granted because it's such an important word in the restaurant industry. Mise en place literally translates as everything in its place. And it just means being prepared, having everything you're going to need ready to go. So
that's me walking into the kitchen every morning and goes, "Where's your mise en place?"
Yeah.
And the cook's looking at me like,
Yeah, exactly.
This is your job.
If you don't have any mise en place ready while you're grilling, that's going to make you walk away from the grill to go get those things that you need, which means you could have a flare up and you could come back and everything tastes acrid and like bitter because it's now crusted with this flame broiled.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't get distracted. Have your mise en place there.
This is just with cooking in general. Have everything out there.
Yep.
It just makes everything more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And takes away the panic.
Like cooking shows. You see cooking shows, they always have mise en place. They'll walk through. You see them all. They've got their little ramekins of like their seasonings, their whatever. Just you don't have to be like that. Just have everything out and ready to go though.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this could be a bit more quick fire now because we haven't got too much longer left today. So don't throw your meat directly on the grill.
Yes. Don't throw your meat directly on the grill. You want to know your hot spots and cold spots first. You want to know what you're dealing with. You want to know what the lay of the land is before you just haphazardly jive in, right?
I gotta learn that one.
All right. John, I got one for you.
Oh yeah.
Do cook with a lid.
So that's part of this great thing is you're creating that heat and the convection in there. So having that lid down when you're cooking just adds those extra flavors and just speeds up the time.
Yeah.
It also keeps it really hot, right? And so when you're going with barbecue, you're looking for heat.
Yeah.
You're looking for that. Initially, you're looking for that heat. And so it's great to have the lid down. And it also stops you from playing with the food, right?
It does. But I think, honestly, too, it gives you a more even heat. And it reduces your cooking time
for sure.
By keeping the lid down.
Yeah.
So you're doing yourself a favor by keeping it down.
Okay, right. So I'm just going to read this out because I don't think it makes any sense.
Okay, maybe.
And let me get right to the end of the sentence because I
Sure.
want everyone to understand how this sentence makes no sense. Don't fuss with the meat. Allow to cook mallard.
Yeah. So that's that Maillard. But the don't fuss with the meats and allow to cook. That's what we were talking about. Don't keep flipping them over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't and just turn them a little bit if need be.
Nice.
And I think the last point before getting into that, I think we walked you through how to cook it.
Yeah.
We've walked you through all that. I am very big on once your meat is sitting to rest, once you've got it there to rest, hitting it with more seasoning. I think that's a very important step for me.
I thought I was having another beer.
No, I think you season again as it's resting. I think that's where you get a lot of flavor. You're going to lose a lot of your seasoning through the cooking process. It's just natural. That's why you should always use a little extra. But at the very end, you're not going to lose it. It's just going to be pulled right into the flavor of the meat.
Okie dokie. Right, so we're getting near to the end. So I'm going to skip to the last one. And then there's one really to round it off, I think, perfectly. But let's quickly talk about aftercare for your grill.
Yeah.
So we touched on that with the heat in
cleaning
the barbecue, really using a wire brush, get everything cleaned off. The moisture that is, and I've learned all this today, the moisture that is in that food will be bad for your grill. So heat it, use wire brush, get rid of everything. Any more aftercare?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely at fault for this. I've probably owned 5 or 6 barbecues in my life, and here our seasonality is a bit different than other parts of the world. So we have a much more humid we have a lot more moisture in our air in general. We're right by the water in a place where it rains 100 days of the year.
Right, and Vancouver Island is a rainforest.
Yes. So take your barbecue in after, because I've left mine out a couple times and that first rain hits or an unexpected rain hits, and then I'm already doing some damage to my barbecue. I'm already killing the long-term life of it. Other than that, oil down your grill between uses, and I mean, clean out your traps. Like just aftercare, like treat it like you would say an oven or your fridge, where if it gets to the point where you're like, I don't want my food near that, like keep it clean, keep it taken care of.
I thought you were going to go down the treat it like a good woman kind of route there.
No. Far be it from me to tell anybody how to treat anyone.
Yeah.
Okay. And anything to add?
Well,
on
I was
Aftercare?
just going to say, just turn the propane off.
Yes.
I always forget to do that.
Actually, no,
Like,
that's a good point, because propane will slowly leak, and it might not be lethal, but if you leave the valve open over the winter, I've done that before, where I'm like, the last cook of the year, I left it open in a full tank, and I go to use it the next, and the tank's empty because it's just dissipated over the year.
Yeah, I mean, I just turned the barbecue off at the end too. I mean, I did the barbecue the other day, and you know what? When I get my barbecue going, I cook lots of food on it. Yeah. Because I'm like, it's going.
It's going. Might as well utilize it.
I've got barbecued chicken in my fridge right now.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it because
nice.
I'll cut it up, throw it in a salad, cut it up, make a chicken salad sandwich,
Like I miss living with you. Always something lovely in the fridge.
And so, but yeah, at the end of we're sitting around having some burgers and chicken and some grilled roasted potatoes on the barbecue, and it was all good. And then it's like, do you want to turn your barbecue off? I'm like, oh yeah, we probably should. So I'm like, it'll just run out of propane eventually. So.
Okay, right, final one, and we've got to keep this 20 seconds apiece, and I love this one. Don't overthink or overwork.
Yeah, don't overthink it. I mean, we've given you a whole bunch of things to consider and a whole bunch of things to keep in mind, but at the end of the day, don't get panicky and anxiety over making sure you hit every one of these. Just, slowly incorporate, hopefully, some of these tips. And it'll improve what you've already got going. Unless you're a master, in which case we need to have you on the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and that's it. I mean, like, it's barbecuing. It's outdoor. Mm-hmm. It's family fun time, right?
Do you want to add to that?
So just get out there and enjoy it, and don't overthink it. Like, have some fun, break some rules. It's okay to do. You're barbecuing, right? So
beautiful.
It's all good times.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I hope you've learned a lot today. I certainly have, and I'm going to be acquiring that barbecue very, very shortly. And someone out there is going to be going, "Where's the barbecue?" Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. This has been the Edible Valley Podcast. My name is William. I'm the producer.
And I'm Chef Jonathan Fraser.
And I'm semi-professional griller Darren.
Oh, you moved up.
I don't know. I gave myself a raise in that.
Have a great week.
Yeah, thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley.
But if you ever throw a shrimp on the barbie to an Australian, you're just immediately, they'll turn their back on you. Anyways,
Really?
let's get back to
Australia.
I just made a cut for you to have to cut out.
I'm gonna get stabbed when I. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
And this has been an Edible Valley production.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Okay. Ready again?